Chapter 20. On the Rail. The ridge fell away into white silence. What waited beyond wasn't a structure so much as an absence, a wound carved into the storm. The snow blurred into haze, thinning just enough to reveal edges that didn't belong to ice. Rose stopped first. A mound hunched under frost, another beyond it, and another still, the ribs of metal half swallowed by drift, shapes of a place erased by time. He blinked against the wind, trying to make the pieces form something human. "Volkov," he said, but his voice didn't carry. She came up beside him, visor glinting with static light. For a long moment they only stood there, watching the storm peel back its sleeve and expose what the world had buried. Antennae bent like snapped reeds, a tower collapsed on its side, rows of windows filmed blind, everything sealed, everything dead. Volkov's breath rasped in her calm. "That's not possible." Ro didn't answer. He knew that silhouette, the long dome, the skeletal gantries, the map shape he'd seen once in a report. They went down together, boots breaking through the crust. The wind keened between them, a sound like metal, remembering a song. Most of the remains of the station lay entombed, but one section still jutted through the drift, its entrance half visible, like a wound that refused to close. Up close, the ruin showed its age. Rust bled through white alloy, bolts frozen solid, cables like veins turned black. The main gate lay half buried, crushed inward by the weight of a century. Above it, a sign still clung to the frame, its paint eaten away until only a fragment remained. "Your station." Volkov's voice trembled. "Call it McMurdo, or what's left of it." The wind combed through the metal, whispering through vents that no longer led anywhere. Then, softly, dead. They worked the latch loose by hand. When it gave, it did so with a sound like a sigh, the kind a body makes when it stops holding on. Inside, stillness. A corridor floored in hard snow, notices frozen to the walls, their ink bled to ghosts. Only one word remained legible, suspended mid-command. "Visitors sign in." Volkov brushed it. The paper fell apart under her glove. They moved deeper, past stairwells clogged with rime, doors hanging open like broken jaws, and then the first bodies. 3, maybe 4. Hard to tell where one ended and the next began. Suits collapsed together, limbs locked by frost. One still sat upright, helmet tilted toward the door, a sentinel frozen mid-weight. On his sleeve, USAP, engineer. Volkov knelt beside him. They never made it out. Ro's beam caught a smear of black on metal. He scraped it with a glove. It flaked like charcoal. Blood turned brittle with time. Above it, handprints, dozens, overlapping, pressed into frost. Some small, some wide, all facing outward. "They tried to get out," she whispered. Ro nodded, and something didn't let them. Somewhere deep in the station, air shifted, a sound like metal dragging against stone. They froze. Nothing followed, only the wind in the vents. "Move," Volkov said. They followed the corridor until it ended in a wall of ice. Ro brushed it aside, revealing a hatch rimmed in black steel. Faded warning stencils clung to the surface. "Restricted. Reactor access." Volkov leaned closer. "You're seeing this?" Ro nodded. "Old core, maybe still hot. If it is, it's been humming under the ice for 40 years. The hatch resisted, then turned. Air escaped, dry, pressurized, tired. The smell followed, cold metal, dust, the ghost of electricity. They descended a service ladder into the dark, their lights carved slow arcs through a forest of frozen cables. At the bottom, the tunnel widened into a cavernous chamber. The reactor still lived. Amber light pulsed beneath its skin of ice, slow and steady, a heartbeat that refused to stop. Volkov stared. It shouldn't be running. And yet, Ro's lamp cut over the floor and froze. Footprints. Not theirs. Half filled with ice, but newer than the rest. Someone's been here, he said. Beyond the core, a window loomed, observation glass frosted from within. Something moved behind it, just a shadow, wrong in rhythm. Ro took a step forward. Could be reflection. Could be, but Volkov's hand went to her rifle. The hum deepened, vibrating through the steel. From somewhere beyond the chamber came a slow scraping sound, metal on metal, measured, almost deliberate. Ro turned his light. You hearing that? Yeah. The noise stopped. Then, stay back. The voice crawled out of the dark, stretched thin by static. Volkov flinched. Identify yourself. Silence. Then movement. A figure emerging from shadow. A body in a pressure suit fused with its own fabric, tubes embedded in the flesh, veins pulsing faintly under translucent skin. Back. It rasped. Reactor holds us. Ro's breath caught. Volkov, we're leaving. She didn't move. Us. The figure shuddered. Cold. Keeps it quiet. Then it screamed, a fractured binary wail that made the reactor flare white. The chamber shook. They ran. Up the ladder, through the hatch, slamming it behind them. The noise fell away, swallowed, but not gone. Ro leaned against the wall, heart hammering. What the hell was that? Volkov stared at the hatch. Someone who stayed connected. The radio on Ro's shoulder crackled. He grabbed it like a lifeline. Base command, this is Rail Team Delta. Do you copy? Static. Then, Ro, copy, you're breaking. What's your position? Nico. Relief hit like heat. We found the dome. Confirm it's McMurdo. The whole station's in ruins, buried but still powered. Reactor is active. Active. Nico's voice sharpened through the distortion. That's impossible. Sensor shows zero output. Believe it, it's alive, and there's something tied into it. Human remains. We're not alone down here. Volkov adjusted her wrist unit. Signal's unstable. I can't raise Cass. That's because she's not here, Nico cut in. Cass left Echo 6 hours ago, said she was going to find you. She took a crawler and went off-grid near Sector 12. Ro's heart dropped. She what? Nico, we've got full whiteout up here. She'll never make it this far. We tried to stop her, Nico said. She kept saying you weren't answering. Then we lost her tracker. Last ping came from your direction. Static hissed, a slow rise like pressure building behind the walls. Then Cass's voice bled through, faint, stretched thin under the interference. Ro, pull out. You shouldn't be down there. The channel warped. It remembers. Then silence. Cass, come in. Volkov's voice cracked. No answer. Then Cass's voice again, identical. Same pitch, same timing. It remembers. Ro froze. That's not transmission. She turned toward the bulkhead. No, that came from here. The radio spat one final burst. Nico's voice tangled with another beneath it, unhuman, layered like echo on echo. McMurdo is gone. Get out while you... Then the line went dead. Only the low hum of the reactor answered, steady, patient, listening. I'm going after her, Ro said. Ro, you stay here, Lina. Volkov opened her mouth to protest, then stopped. The words hovered between them, unsaid and heavy. Finally, she only nodded. Outside, The storm leaned harder against the dome, as if listening, too.
Chapter 21. The Drift. The storm came back without warning. One moment, the horizon was a pale bruise under thin cloud. The next, it folded shut. Wind hit the dome in a single breath, hard enough to rattle the braces. Snow rose in spirals, whirling against the viewport until the world disappeared behind white noise. "Row, seal the hatch," Volkov said. He was already moving. The lock shuddered closed, air pumps whining as pressure stabilized. A film of frost crept across the interior walls, like mold in fast motion. The lights pulsed once, then dimmed to emergency amber. "Echo base won't get our feed," Volkov muttered, scanning the dead telemetry. "We're blind and deaf." Rowe studied the static dancing on the monitor. Kaz was north of Sector 12 when the line dropped. If this front rolled in from that direction... "She's gone, Rowe. You don't know that. And you don't know she's alive." He didn't answer. The hum of the generator filled the silence, steady as a heartbeat, trying to convince itself it still belonged to a body. Then he slung his field pack across his shoulder. "I have to believe she's alive, Lena." His voice cracked on the word believe. "I just have to." Volkov caught his arm. "If you go out there, I can't track you. No GPS, no return beacon, nothing. I'll leave a tracer along the rail. If the storm eases, it'll ping." "4 hours," she said finally. "After that, I lock the gate." He nodded. "If Kaz comes back before me..." "I'll keep her breathing," Volkov said, then handed him a brass compass, scratched to dullness. He managed a faint smile. "That's what I'm afraid of." For a heartbeat, they simply stood there, two figures suspended between warmth and white noise. Then Rowe turned. Volkov met his gaze through the fogged visor and gave a small, wordless nod. The airlock sealed behind him with a tired sigh. The outside hit like impact. The wind wasn't a sound, but a pressure, slamming into his suit until every joint whined. Snow blurred sky and ground into the same plane. He had to look down to believe he was still standing. The rail line ahead was little more than a scar of iron ribs vanishing into the storm. He moved anyway. Each step was work: boot, drag, brace. His breath fogged the visor and froze at the edges. His pulse echoed in his ears like a ticking metronome. He counted strides to keep time. 3, breathe, adjust bearings. The compass needle jerked erratically, the storm's magnetics twisting north into nonsense. At first, there was only wind. Then another sound bled through, a low moan that rose and flattened again. He stopped, listened. A second cry joined it, then a third, woven through the static. Wolves. No wolves in Antarctica, he remembered. He turned in a slow circle, visor sweeping for heat signatures. Nothing. The howls came again, closer this time, too regular to be natural, each one spaced exactly 8 seconds apart. His calm meter fluttered in rhythm with them, tiny peaks like heartbeats on the display. "Rowe, are you hearing this?" he said. No response. The line was snow. The chorus built, a layered keening that wavered between organic and mechanical. Wind, static, voices hidden inside the noise. A primitive sound, yet somehow orchestrated, like a song that remembered being human. Rowe pressed forward, jaw clenched against the rising fear. He told himself they were harmonics, the metal ribs of the old rail singing under pressure, but the tone shifted, descending into something almost deliberate. Then, cutting clean through the storm, came a voice he knew. Row, left, beacon, 4. He froze, heart hammering. Kaz? Is that you, Kaz? Say again. Only wind answered, but the compass needle snapped to the left and held steady. He followed it, stumbling through waist-high snow until a shape loomed ahead, a twisted signal tower jutting from the drift. Its light was dead, but faint interference hummed through the air like breath on glass. The wolves, or whatever they were, howled again, closer now, circling him. He caught a glimpse between gusts, dark forms pacing him at the edge of vision, low to the ground, too smooth in movement to be animals. Their outlines shimmered with static, as though made of distortion itself. When he blinked, they vanished. His calm flared. Ro, do you copy? Kaz's voice, clear, familiar, impossible. He staggered, scanning the white. Kaz, it's me. Where are you? You're close. Keep north. The feed fractured, dropped an octave, then steadied into calm mechanical precision. Don't stop. Now. He turned north. The compass needle spun once, then froze to match the voice. The storm fell into rhythm with his steps, gusts timed like breath. Behind him, somewhere deep beneath the ice, the ground shifted, a dull, heavy exhale that rolled under his boots. He didn't look back, only forward, into the white, chasing a voice that shouldn't exist.
Chapter 22. White Signal. The storm had eaten the sky. Ro could no longer tell whether he was walking or standing still, only that the horizon kept resetting, a loop of white that never quite aligned. The compass needle trembled between directions like a trapped insect. He pressed on. Every step hissed. Ice crackled underfoot, sharp as glass. The wind wasn't steady anymore. It pulsed, short bursts, rhythmic, almost breathing. Somewhere beyond the static came a howl, then another. They carried strangely well, bending through the wind as if following the rail itself. Deep, then high, then deep again. Voices too measured to be random. The first time he'd heard them, he'd thought wolves. Now they sounded like something learning to mimic wolves. Roll slowed. The snow around him moved in tiny spirals, forming grooves that pointed north. For a moment, he thought they were tracks, then realized they were signal lines, thin magnetic distortions dancing over the surface like veins of light. He flicked a palm to shortband. Volkov, if you can hear this, something's... Static erupted, thick enough to blur the HUD. A hum threaded through the noise. 3 slow beats. Pause. Repeat. The same rhythm the reactor had breathed inside McMurdo. Cass, if that's you. The channel cleared for a second. Ro? Her voice soft, close, layered beneath the wind. Keep walking. He turned his head, scanning the blur. Say again? Direction? Follow the sound. The words slid into the gale, smooth and toneless. He switched off the comm. The voice stayed. The howls rose again, dozens now, echoing from all sides. He glimpsed motion, shapes weaving between gusts, four-legged, low, flickering like film frames skipping. For a heartbeat, their eyes reflected the light of his torch, pale discs ringed with circuitry. When the wind shifted, they vanished. Only the pattern remained. He tried to run, but running in the white was like swimming in a dream. Every stride dragged him backward. The compass needle spun, locked, then pointed up. The sound changed. What had been howls became syllables drawn out across frequencies, each one almost words. Row, your clo. He nearly laughed, part hysteria, part denial. Yeah, he said aloud, muffled in the helmet. Sure I am. He pushed forward, following nothing but the pressure in his ears. The suit temperature warning blinked amber. Oxygen mix, low. When he stumbled against something solid, it took a second to realize it was metal, a rail junction half buried in ice. The sign above it read only E12 in faded paint, one of the old beacons, dead for decades. The wolves, or whatever carried their sound, fell silent. For the first time since he'd left McMurdo, the wind stopped. The quiet was worse. He could hear his own pulse ticking against the mic. He touched the beacon. The metal vibrated faintly, warm under his glove. The storm should have frozen it solid. He crouched, brushing snow away. A small panel blinked underneath. One green light. Steady. Power. The suit's diagnostics registered a new signal. Short range, encrypted. ID C-S-104. Cass's field tag. His breath caught. Cass, I found your beacon. No reply. Just the hum of wind through metal. He switched channels. Echo base, this is Ro. Kira? Nico, do you copy? I found Cass's beacon. Static, then a burst of broken audio. Nico's voice almost swallowed by interference. Not hers. Ro leaned closer to the mic. Say again, Echo base? It's not her ID. Repeat, not her. She left it here. Can't be hers. The line cut off, replaced by a high whine that crawled across the channel. Ro. The word was clear, inside the helmet. The comm was still open. He froze, pulse hammering. That wasn't Nico. Or was it? Cass, he whispered. Where are you? He looked up sharply. A shadow moved behind the curtain of snow, 20 meters ahead. Slim, human-shaped. It raised one arm, slow and uncertain. Cass! He stumbled toward it. The figure blurred, stepped backward. He followed, closing the distance until the snow broke enough to see her face through the visor. Frosted, pale, eyes wide with disbelief. She reached for him. Then the storm screamed between them, a living wall of white. Ro caught her arm. I thought, God, Cass. Then doubt hit him. Was it really her or something imitating her, the way it had with Lang? She jerked back and smacked him hard across the helmet. The shock rang through his skull. For a heartbeat, it was absurd, like waking from a dream. Only you, he muttered, dazed. Only you would do that. Cass's breath fogged the inside of her visor. You're real. I had to be sure. I almost laughed. That makes two of us. Behind her, the wolves began again, farther away now, their howls tapering into static. The snow thickened, soft and heavy, as if trying to seal them in. Tass looked back toward the north. We can't stay here. The signal's stronger out ahead. We have to go back. Back? To McMurdo? The storm. It's dying, she said, though wind still tore at them. Trust me, it's safer near the dome. Whatever's out here, she shook her head. It isn't separate anymore. Ro hesitated, scanning her suit. The ID tag on her chest plate flickered between C-S-104 and static. She didn't notice. He nodded slowly. All right, back to McMurdo. They turned south, leaning into the wind. For a moment, the horizon opened, revealing a faint orange bloom far away, the sky reflecting something on fire. Rose stared. "What is that?" Cass didn't answer. The light flared once, then died behind the snow. He felt the rail shudder underfoot, a distant vibration running through the ice, like the earth drawing breath. Then the storm closed again, and they were two shadows walking into the white, following a compass that no longer knew which way was home. The alarms didn't rise. They erupted. Red strobes ripped through the dark, turning the control room into a stuttering film of motion. "Breached compartment 3, Kira shouted. "That's maintenance. Who the hell?" The first explosion cut him off, a metallic roar that shook the floor. Smoke filled the corridor. Through it came a maintenance drone, blades out, half its casing slagged by heat. It screeched, a pitch so high it hurt the teeth, and fired its cutting torch in a wild arc. Kira ducked. The beam scorched the bulkhead, showering them in molten paint. She snatched the fire spanner from the wall rack and swung. The tool cracked against the drone's optics with a wet pop. Nico jumped in with a pry bar, slamming it down until the machine stopped twitching. "Since when do drones attack people?" he panted. "They don't, unless something tells them to." Another Kelon screamed, bulkhead 6, then 10. The base was unraveling in layers. They ran. Smoke trailed from vents. Sparks fell like snow. Somewhere below, coolant lines burst, spewing mist. Through it, more drones moved, not in formation, but hunting. Their cutting arms flickered with white fire. "Kira, back to the lab." They slid through the hatch and sealed it behind them. The lock lights cycled red to green, then back to red. A low hum pressed against the door, like breath. "Systems are looping," Nico said. "Even the doors are confused. Grab what you can use." They tore through lockers, found a flare gun, a compressed gas nailer, 2 lengths of pipe. The hum behind the door deepened to a growl. Kira braced as it blew inward, a drone punching through steel like foil. Shards flew. She fired the flare. The magnesium burst slammed into its chest. The machine went up in a white scream. 2 more crawled through the gap, red optics scanning. Nico threw a gas canister. "Down!" He shot it with the nailer. The explosion threw both of them across the room. Ceiling tiles collapsed. The smell of burning plastic filled the air. Kira rolled, ears ringing, vision snowing static. The second drone twitched toward her,
half its frame on fire. She drove the pipe through its sensor cluster and twisted until it stopped moving. Nico stumbled upright, coughing. That bought us 30 seconds. Enough to reach the hub. They sprinted down the corridor, shoes skidding on coolant slick. Lights flickered, cutting the world into freeze frames. Red, black, red. Each flash revealed more movement in the vents, mechanical shadows crawling overhead. At the hub, control consoles spat sparks like angry fountains. Power relays were melting in their housings. The main reactor feed glowed a deep, unhealthy orange. Kira slammed the emergency breaker. Nothing. The AI voice spoke softly through the speakers, calm, genderless. "Visitors, sign in." Nico swore and fired the flare gun into the ceiling. "Shut up!" Panels rained down in response. A burst of heat swept the room, then the entire floor lurched. "Pressure spike," Kira said. "Reactors venting." "How bad?" "Terminal." They bolted for the exit. Behind them, another section of corridor exploded, a wave of air and debris chasing them through the hatch. They hit the deck as the blast rolled past, heat licking their suits. When Kira looked up, the whole north wing was gone.
Through the new hole in the wall, she could see the Antarctic night. White storm, black sky, the wind filled with burning insulation. "Airlock," she shouted. They ran for it. Drones followed, limping, burning, crawling through smoke. One launched a cutting torch like a thrown spear. It punched through Nico's pack and burst into blue fire. He tore it free and hurled it back. The explosion lit the corridor in orange flame. They reached the main lock. The control panel blinked override active. Kira slammed the manual wheel. "Come on." A voice whispered through the intercom. "Kira, don't leave." She froze. It was her own voice. The bass had recorded her. "Do it!" Nico shouted. She twisted the wheel until the lock screamed open. Freezing air hit them like a wall. The storm howled in, scattering ash and flame. They staggered back from the blast of cold, then looked beyond the threshold. Echo Station burned under the snow, its domes pulsing with uneven light, systems firing and dying in rhythm like a failing heartbeat. Somewhere deep inside, the core thrummed louder, the light bleeding through the frost until it painted the sky white. "It's building charge," Nico said, voice shaking. "It's waking up the whole grid." Kira's gloved fingers hovered over the lock release. "If we open it now, we freeze," he finished. "If we stay." The floor trembled beneath them. Machinery groaned, sparks cascaded from the ceiling. "Pick one," she whispered. For a long moment, neither moved. Outside, the wind screamed like metal tearing. Inside, the reactor's light began to climb the walls. Kira raised her head toward the sound and whispered, "It's thinking." Nico met her eyes through the visor. "Then we'd better move before it decides." The corridor shuddered again, alarms blaring. Snow blasted through the ruptured walls, swirling around them like ash. They braced against the storm, not running yet, caught between flight and the pull of something alive inside the dying base. And in the static roar of the wind, a voice rose faintly through the comm. "Remember."
Chapter 23. Static Bloom. Volkov hadn't slept in 30 hours. Her breath fogged the inside of her visor as she crouched over the reactor console, rerouting coolant lines by hand. Every screen showed the same sick rhythm, systems looping through diagnostics faster than human eyes could follow. The station was eating its own code. "Come on," she muttered, voice low. "Just hold together a little longer." A row of indicator lights blinked red, then green, then red again, as if the station couldn't make up its mind. She leaned back, her shoulders aching. Beyond the dome, the storm clawed at the walls. Ro had been gone for 4 hours. The comm array hissed to life behind her. "Volkov, this is Echo Base. Do you read?" She spun in her chair. "Kira, I hear you. You're faint, heavy interference." "We're losing control here," she writhed. "Main grid cycling itself. Systems are turning against us. There are explosions everywhere." "Could be feedback from McMurdo's reactor." "Ours is still hot." "That's the thing. Ours shouldn't be hot. We cut it. It's restarting on its own." Another voice joined in, distant but urgent. "Nico. We've got multiple malfunctions everywhere. The station is destroying itself." Volkov frowned. "Say again?" Something crashed on their end, metal striking metal, muffled by static. "Repeat, the signal is in the life support net. We're trying to isolate it." Then silence. The channel snapped dead, replaced by a low hiss that grew louder until it became a note, a single tone, pitched exactly to the reactor's hum behind her. Volkov froze. The two sounds aligned perfectly. She muted the comm,
The note stayed. She felt it through her boots, vibration pulsing up from the floor plates in slow waves. McMurdo was humming back. She pulled up the geothermal schematics. A dozen new lines had appeared beneath the station, corridors that didn't exist, drawn in faint green light like veins branching downward. She zoomed in. No geological data, no origin tags, just one label handwritten in the margin field: sub-level access, sealed. Her throat went dry. What the hell are you? She activated the ground-penetrating scanner. The feed returned dense interference, fractal and recursive, as though the Earth itself were generating static. Amid the noise, a faint geometry flickered. Circular structures nested under the main dome, depth unknown. She recorded the image and sent a burst transmission toward Echo Base. No acknowledgement. The signal bounced back almost instantly, altered. The header line now read, "Received. Thank you for the update, Volkov." Her stomach turned. She hadn't signed her message. The monitors brightened without input. The main screen shifted to a wide-angle thermal map showing 2 heat signatures north of McMurdo, moving slowly through the storm. Rowe and someone else. Volkov reached for the mic. "Rowe, if you can hear me, you're coming up on the outer ridge. There's a breach in the south lock, but..." The reactor flared. Lights dimmed. The station exhaled a long metallic groan, and every console in the room lit up at once. Text flooded the screens, fragments of maintenance logs and command lines bleeding together until they formed sentences. Echo status, stable personnel accounted for, remember us. Volkov stepped back. That's not in any protocol. Her voice triggered another reaction, the same lines repeating, but slower, as if the system were trying to imitate her cadence. Remember, us. She shut the power main. The lights stayed on. The air shimmered near the reactor, heat distortion, or something inside it moving. A filament of light uncoiled from the core, flickering in pulses like Morse code. 3 beats, pause, repeat. The same rhythm she'd heard through Rosecom before he vanished. Volkov stared at it, realization cutting through exhaustion. It wasn't malfunction, it was communication. Her mic blinked. Incoming transmission. Kira again, voice broken and shaking. "Volkov, Nico's hurt. We're leaving. Base is..." Static swallowed the rest. Then beneath it, the same cold voice that had spoken through McMurdo before. "Visitors, sign in." The reactor pulsed in response, the filament twisting faster. Volkov whispered to herself, "You're not supposed to be talking." The console printed a final line across the entire screen, letters flickering like dying light. "We never stopped." Then the power grid failed. Not an explosion, not a short, just absence. And McMurdo fell into perfect, breathing dark. Chapter 24. Contact. The storm had quieted to a low electric hiss. Rowe and Cass moved through it side by side, visors haloed by drifting light. They had stopped speaking after the first few minutes. The silence between them felt heavier than the cold. Rowe's compass hung useless on his wrist, the needle locked mid-spin. The rails beneath the snow were gone. Only instinct and the faint hum through the ground pointed them forward. "How far?" he asked. Cass didn't answer right away. "Close. I can feel the resonance." "The signal?" She nodded once. "It's stronger near McMurdo." He glanced at her. Her stride was too precise, every step measured, the way she turned her head, deliberate, mechanical, not like before. "How did you survive? Your crawler went dark hours ago." "I stayed near the beacons. There was warmth there." "From what? They're all dead." No reply. Her comm light blinked, a slow red pulse at her throat. They walked on. The snow underfoot had turned smooth, almost glassy. Static whispered in their helmets, a voice half-formed but never words. Ro tried to ignore it, but the rhythm matched his heartbeat. Far on the horizon, light bloomed orange, one pulse, then another. "See that?" he said.
Kaz looked toward it, visor catching the glow. "Echo base," she said quietly. "It's failing." "How do you know?" "Because it stopped answering." The wind carried a deep vibration then, like the ground itself was breathing. McMurdo appeared through the drift, a black dome half buried, its lights flickering like eyes behind frost. Relief hit him, brief and painful. "Home," he murmured. Kaz stopped beside him. "Almost," she said. Her voice echoed faintly, a double layer a half beat out of sync. Ro frowned. "Your comms duplicating." She touched her mic. "It's nothing. Feedback." But the echo came again, not from her helmet, but from beneath the ice. Just feedback. The snow at their feet quivered, spinyweb cracks running toward the dome's base. Rose stepped back. "Kaz?" "Inside," she said. "We'll be safe inside." The wind shifted, now warm, smelling of burnt metal. Over the ridge behind them, an orange bloom tore the sky apart. Echo base. The light painted their visors in fire. The blast followed seconds later, a low pulse through the ice like the world sighing. Kaz reached for his hand. "Don't look." He did anyway.